Hello and welcome to This is European Bioethics. I'm Natasha Burns.
And I'm Emma Neal-Edwards.
And we're both PhD students and research assistants for the GLUE project. In this week's podcast, we're talking about a story that's been in the news about a pregnant woman that was hospitalised against her will and what happened as a result of that situation. In order to make this slightly more interesting, we've gone to talk to a group of midwives to see what they have to say about the subject. So what are your initial reactions to the story?
Quite shocked.
Yeah, it's appalling.
I don't think it would have happened in the UK.
Illegal.
And it would be illegal.
Yeah, definitely.
And the hospital is at fault. They allowed the doctor to actually, that they complied with the doctor's wishes to lock the door. And that would never happen in an NHS hospital.
It's informed choice at the end of the day. I mean, like it says in the literature, that we inform them of the risks of smoking and alcohol, and it's up to them to make that decision, not the doctor.
So it's patient autonomy that comes before everything else. You give them all the options available, and then it's down to them.
You highlight the risks to them. You tell them. You tell them the risks, and it's up to them to make that decision, because obviously they're in a capable mind to do so.
I think it's very difficult in this day and age, though, and you have to protect yourself as a practitioner, and sometimes you do go overboard, and you have to make sure that they are deemed mentally capable of making such a decision, and very blatantly put down all the risks to them and their fetus, because we're in such a culture of blame that however much we know the risks and may want them to receive treatment or have a caesarean section for their benefit or the babies, and they refuse to do so, you have to protect yourself and make sure they do know the consequences. So, I mean, this is obviously, very irrational, and I wouldn't have thought this would happen in this country, one would hope not. But for lesser events or situations, unfortunately, no matter what we think, the baby doesn't have a right until it's got a moral status, and it hasn't got a moral status until it's born. So, no matter what we think, it's the mother's choice.
It is. And she wasn't even going into labour. So why the bed rest? I mean, was it all evidence-based? I don't think it's been thought about. I don't think a decision's been made, and she stuck by it, I think.
So it's sort of an overreaction to initial judgment.
Possibly, and she may not want to sort of override her decision, maybe, or maybe, I don't know, but
it's not simply a case of a doctor acting alone. This doctor has acted with the backing, presumably, of the hospital, and also a judge as well. So is this more to do with the culture in the United States and how...
Well, I think it does. It probably does give that example, because it is one doctor, and the power then that one doctor has over that woman. And the judge should have gone for a second opinion. He should not have taken the expert witness being this doctor, because he was offering and told the woman 15 weeks, up to 15 weeks of bed rest. She's 25 weeks pregnant. That brings her up to 40 weeks. Well, a lot of women go into labour at 38 weeks, and that's fine. 36 weeks is fine. 32 weeks is fine. Survival rates of babies born at 28 weeks are around about 80%. And so therefore, the ludicrous nature of what he was asking the woman to do. And we know that bed rest, nowadays, we know that putting people on bed rest is detrimental to their health. and does not prevent preterm labour, which is what he was trying to do. So the very treatment he was offering was not justified.
It possibly caused more harm in the process.
Absolutely.
Especially when you consider the result of what happened after that. I mean, 3 days later she had a C-section and the fetus has actually died.
Really?
The stress from that.
When did she have a cesarean?
Says at the bottom.
It's not entirely clear in the story why she had it, but that was the conclusion to this. I mean, the fetus ended up not surviving anyway. Presumably some of that has to be attributed to the stress that the mother underwent.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And the sad thing about it is that maybe at some point the doctor was trying to act in the best interest of the fetus, but it's actually had a negative impact, and by trying to do that he's brought this other situation about.
Such radical instructions though, doesn't it, from a doctor to... I mean, I don't know what the general thing is in Tallahassee, if that's presuming where it is, that's the hospital name, isn't it? And I know all states have different laws and what have you, but it seems very old-fashioned.
Very old-fashioned.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, very old-fashioned. We used to do it years ago and never do it
Very
now.
old-fashioned.
And to prevent second opinion, why did he she prevent second opinion?
Mm.
Perhaps it was because she already knew that the second opinion would go against her. And therefore it's her right to be seen as the all-knowing, and I know everything, and therefore I'm better than you, and you don't know nothing. It's very paternalistic, but in this day and age, very outdated.
And I don't know, I always thought that in America, obviously not all Americans, I know a lot of them don't have any health insurance at all, but the ones that do have health insurance, I would have thought they had the privilege of having that benefit of second, third opinion, whoever they chose to be their obstetrician.
Yeah.
And of course also, I suppose, if they're told that they're having bed rest, they have to pay for it. You know, it's another issue. You're not only putting me on bed rest, but you're making me have to pay for it as well.
Yeah. It'd be quite a substantial cost,
Absolutely.
Especially for that length of time.
That's right. And if she's got 2 children at home, there was no discussion of perhaps you should take opportunities to rest, and perhaps somebody over here, if we said to people you should rest, we would give them advice about childcare. Family members looking after the children for a few hours a day, all those aspects, the social aspects. This is totally medicalised, and sees the woman as an incubator for a baby.
Yeah, not a holistic approach at all.
No,
it's just that's my way, and we'll do it my way.
And to get a court order.
Yeah, but that to me that has implications on the court system in that particular state, doesn't it? If that's what they're practicing.
Yeah.
You know.
It brings about the question of what would happen in a similar situation if this judge had already made a decision. I mean, in the UK, the way law acts is that a judgment's made, and that can sometimes act as a precedent for something to go before it. So until an actual law has been made, you go off the law of precedents. So I think what they're trying to do as a result of this, there's going to be an examination of what went on, and she's going to try and fight a legal battle in order to ensure that this doesn't happen to other
She
women.
must have been tied down in her bed.
Traumatised.
She must have. There's no way. They forced her under court order to be on bed rest. Well, the only way they could actually police that would be to tie her to the bed.
Yeah, so technically she can get out of bed and walk around.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's a protest.
You know, so that's illegal imprisonment.
There was a similar case, though, wasn't there, years ago, about
prisoners.
a prisoner being
Prisoners,
tied
yeah.
to a bed while she gave birth, wasn't it?
Yes, it was in the
In
UK,
this country.
in London.
Yeah, I remember that.
I know Anne Widdecombe was.
They thought she
Home
was going to abscond,
Secretary.
so you know
Yeah,
there was
they
that
did.
law.
Yeah. So.
And now there's rules that say, you know, even if they're a prisoner, they should not
can't
be. They should not be handcuffed
Yeah.
Yeah.
while they're in the process of giving birth.
I mean, it was appalling to us, but I mean that was.
I mean, it just
It
shows they
wasn't
think
that
that
long ago.
the woman can get up and walk around and walk
Yeah.
and scarp her, but
Yeah.
Quite concerning.
and to think that the physician knew best what was in the interest of the fetus,
Yeah.
and obviously it wasn't what was best because it didn't work.
Yeah.
Because the baby was dead, even when they did all that they made her do. The baby still did
Yes.
die, and to not provide an opportunity for a second opinion is maintaining, I think, the godlike status of the decision.
Well, to me, it shows that he's not, or she has not kept up to date with
Absolutely.
her knowledge of present obstetric care.
Yeah.
I wonder if she had any medical problems. You know.
Apparently she did smoke for the first 6 months of her pregnancy.
Well, so do a lot more other people.
I don't know. I don't. Were the obstetrician was he worried that if he didn't protect this fetus, that they may sue for? I don't know. You know, is that why he's such?
Yeah, but in the US, the fetus has got no rights
Yeah.
anyway.
As well.
Because I looked at the legal aspect of it,
Yeah.
and obviously the judge had commented that they had the right to do it because it was for the safety of the child, whereas according to the 9th Amendment, the rights lie with the woman
Yeah.
and not the
So
fetus.
it's
Because I made a
the
point
same,
of saying, because
yeah.
the judge says about the child, well, look, in America, and
They have no
similar
rights.
to here, they've got no rights, so
Yeah.
it's actually a child. And I said,
Yeah.
obviously it's a fetus.
They
So
terminate up
the
to
judge
birth
was just,
in the States.
you know,
Gosh,
wrong in
well,
what
we
he
do.
said.
Well, I know,
Mm.
but it's private, isn't it?
So here, the viable gestation's 24, isn't it? So there isn't anything like that in America.
Well, abortion's I looked at it from the abortion to start with abortion because obviously it's legal in America on demand, and they obviously say that it's the fetus has got no rights. Obviously, it's a right of the woman to choose obviously what goes on with her body. So therefore, it was a contradiction in terms for the judge then to rule
Yes.
that they were doing it for the safety of the child when they don't obviously acknowledge the rights of the child.
Yeah,
so how when do you decide
Yeah.
when that happens?
It's quite a serious misinterpretation of the law.
Yes,
Yeah, I said
absolutely.
that it's unconstitutional to be able to put this as a law that says this is right, but then obviously in this case they've now taken that away, so it's not.
And it begs the also. I mean, if this is old-fashioned treatment, and it begs the whole issue of doctors being up to date, physicians in the case of America being up to date. Should they be allowed to practice when what they're practicing is outdated medicine? And I know that the profession is supposed to police itself, but the only policing it really does is to make sure they maintain their status rather than any. It says the medical community has an obligation to police the actions of its members, but it doesn't do that very well. It does not do that very well in this country. Shipman was not struck off. He went to jail for murder for how many counts of murder, but yet he was not struck off by the medical profession, which is ludicrous.
Yeah.
Ludicrous. And so the profession itself does not adequately police itself, only when it serves its own ends, really.
Right.
That's what I
So
feel.
there's scope here to develop maybe procedural ways in which the General Medical Council could advise doctors better on this sort of situation.
Yes, yeah, they do have. I think the GMC they have their updating CME points and things like that. They have certain points that they have to get to maintain, and that demonstrates they're updating. But I don't know what they have in America to ensure that they're up to date. because they do practice very autonomously, don't they?
Yeah.
More so than the doctors in the UK.
Well, that's why it's quite a strange situation where somebody's personal autonomy has been completely overridden.
By one person.
Yeah.
Mm.
With the connivance of the legal system or the judge, which is what it's connivance.
Because I think potentially she's been failed by the highest kind of people, and obviously you've got obviously the medical staff that you'd hope. Because even if, like you said, obviously she was strapped down, even if that wasn't the case, not knowing whether what was right or wrong, if somebody's saying to you your baby's going to die unless you have bed rest, then surely that's what you would do. And then also she's gone to a judge and they've said the same thing. You kind of you'd hope that you put your faith in those people to act and do the best thing. And I think the failure of both kind of aspects is just appalling. I can't believe that it's been
But also, who is tying them down, who is locking the door? It's not the doctor. The doctor's ordering the staff to do it, and they're all complying with that. They're all locking the door. It's not just one person; it's the staff on the hospital as well are complying with his wishes. Now, if that was our situation, I'm sure we would not comply. And
accountable, wouldn't we?
Absolutely, for our own actions, and we would say no, we will not comply because this is an illegal act. And we would report them as so, to that effect.
Yeah, once the judgment's been given, though, they'll be
It would
comply.
be very
They'll be.
difficult for us,
They're very
Yeah.
very difficult because what they're doing then is illegal by not locking the door
Yeah.
or tying it
we
down.
could be called to account.
I suppose you could use something like a conscientious objection to get out of that way, but it's putting all staff within that unit under immense pressure.
Yeah, that's true.
And putting them in a very difficult situation.
It's funny that nobody questioned it at the point though. Like, why is it? Do you know what I mean? Nobody came up at that point. There's nobody but
Well, it's
obviously
hard
mother
to
saying
say.
that it was wrong.
Yeah, it's hard to say who questioned it and who didn't because you don't.
I just
We
wonder
don't have
if
the legal information.
How
in
much
front of
was
us.
muttering underneath and how much. Yeah.
Yeah.
But obviously it hit the press.
Yeah,
So
I just wonder
somebody
if this is
must
going to
have.
open the floodgates for more, because I can't. If this doctor's think this is the right thing to do, has there not been other women that have been potentially?
And it does actually. This article does actually use the term rogue OBGYNs and to impose their values. And let's face it, they're out of date practices. It's not just their values; it's their out of date practices that are detrimental, and they were detrimental in this case to the fetus. Because as a result of all this, the fetus did die.
Yeah, but could you prove that that wasn't going to happen anyway?
No,
Because obviously you've got a negligence claim regardless, and say that due to that, obviously that's what they'd argue, that due to their negligence the fetus obviously was stillborn, but would you then obviously argue the other side that it might have happened anyway and it's nothing to do with the bed rest? I'm not saying that that made it all right, I'm saying that they say that potentially that's not the cause and effect of what they did. That was trying to prevent what inevitably did happen.
But if this woman had complied and stayed in bed for 15 weeks, she might then have died because of a deep vein thrombosis and a pulmonary embolism, which is common in pregnancy and those that are not mobile.
There's nothing to say that this lady might not have postnatal depression.
So the midwives have very strong opinions on this subject. If you'd like to join the debate, please become one of our fans on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. We're actually having a discussion on Facebook at the moment about this subject and we'd be very interested in hearing your opinions. Thank you very much for listening.